So yesterday, I saw a clip floating around on Twitter of OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., one of the coolest wide receivers in NFL history with like some of the greatest catches, some of the greatest seasons that we've seen. He was just awesome. I believe he was on the Pivot podcast with Ryan Clark, and he was talking about athletes and the money that they make. And basically, the clip that was going around was of OBJ talking about, for example, an athlete getting a 5-year, $100 million contract. Is that a contract that could be sustainable throughout your lifetime? Basically, is that money going to be able to last throughout your lifetime? Which immediately upon hearing that, I'm sure most people are just like, what are you talking about? $100 million? That's generational type money. That's going to be enough for me, my kids, kids. But before we jump into it, let's just watch the clip.
I have $1 in my account right here today as we speak. I'm going to be straight for the rest of my life. No question, right? I don't think everybody is in that. And when you've sacrificed your whole life to get here, and you're like, yeah, I played 10 years in the league. And I always explain this to people, I'm like, bro, you give somebody a 5-year, $100 million contract, right? What is it really? It's 5 years for 60. You're getting taxed. Do the math. That's 12 a year, that you have to spend, use, save, invest. Flaunt, like whatever, however, just being real. I'm gonna buy a car, I'm gonna give my mama a house, I'm gonna do, everything costs money. So if you spending $4 million a year, that's really $40 million over 5 years, 8 a year.
So let's start at the top. He breaks down, how much money you actually take away, which is actually really important. I'm glad that he brings it up because most people don't really think about that when they see these big contracts that athletes are getting. So let's just go by his example. 5 years, $100 million, and about 40% of that gets taken away for fees for your manager, your agents, and taxes. That leaves you with $60 million to do whatever you want with. That's the money that you are taking home that's in your pocket. And obviously he brought up different situations of where you might be spending a lot of money, like buying a house for yourself, buying a house for your family, your parents, siblings potentially, cars for the same group of people, which all of that is absolutely important, no doubt. But he also says something, a little bit in the middle there where he said, flaunt. And I kind of feel like he shoved that under the rug a little bit, the flaunt aspect of it, because that's where I really feel like the money is going to be going away for a lot of athletes regardless. And then he also mentioned that, potentially in his scenario that he brought up, you're spending about $4 million a year, which, I'm sorry, but that doesn't make any sense. Because again, it's a matter of perspective and what you're spending your money on. Because ultimately, at least in my opinion, if I'm given $60 million, I'm absolutely making that last not only my lifetime, but my family's lifetime, my children's lifetime. That is genuinely generational money. Now, to get back to his point, obviously, if you're spending that $60 million on $1 million houses and $1 million cars, $1 million excursions, trips, I don't know, whatever the case may be, if you're spending millions, of course it's all going to go away. But there are cars that cost sub $50,000 that are really good. There are houses that cost sub $300,000 that are really good. It all comes down to just living within your means. If you know that you have $60 million, just don't spend millions of dollars. But from the perspective, let's just take OBJ as an example. He was one of the biggest wide receivers of his time, before all the injuries and so on and so forth. He was the most popular guy on the planet, basically. When you're riding that sort of high, of course you kind of feel inclined to spend lots of money on jewelry and cars and stuff that you could show off and, like he said, flaunt to other people. But that's where you need that financial maturity to know, listen, I've got all this money. I can be financially stress-free for the rest of my life. Not just me, my family, my friends, they can all be financially free for the rest of their lives if I spend this money right. And I think that is where the tricky part of it comes into play, having the right people around you to help sort of organize that for yourself. So I can kind of see where OBJ is coming from, at least from like maybe a younger sort of mindset, like, early 20s, you're making millions upon millions of dollars. I can understand that part of it, but at the same time, I completely disagree with the sentiment that you can't make $60 million last an entire lifetime. Like, there's no way that you could have $60 million and not live the rest of your life completely financially stress-free, because that's more money than 99% of people will ever have or see in their lifetime. I don't know. That's just what I think about it. But please let me know in the comments what you think. Can you make $60 million last a whole lifetime? Can you be smart with your money, or you think it's just too hard in today's economy? Please let me know in the comments. And until next time, peace.